镜头是歪的，怪不得刚刚说我是歪的，镜头。
We are live now. Hi. Hello, guys. Yeah, I think we are live now. Wow. Hello, everybody. Hi, hello. A big welcome from China. Hi, morning or evening, whatever different zone you are in, we'll welcome you. So, what's the time in your place right now? Just tell us in the comment section. So, right now here in China time, Beijing time is 10:30. It's 10:30.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit thirsty. I'm a little bit hungry and thirsty because we have been prepared for this for a long time. So, Tina and Jason, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think we see so many familiar faces and IDs actually.
Yeah.
Our
friends.
I don't think they miss any episode of this live stream ever. Yeah, we see it all the time, right?
Yeah. So in case any of you just you come into this live stream, we're gonna do a little bit introduction. I'm Ashley, and I am the new employers in this company. So, how about Jason?
I'm probably not that new. I already did like 5 or 6 live streams before, so some of you guys should probably see me before.
Yes.
Oh, 10.
And also our old friend
Tina.
And
please check the voice, the video.
So yes, how was our voice? Can you hear us clearly?
Yeah.
And yes, because earlier this day we have a little bit internet crash this morning, but don't worry because our technician is trying every way to fix up. So hopefully our voice is clear and loud in your end. Yes. Oh.
Yes means good.
California. Yeah. So
We love to see that.
yeah, we definitely will check that out. What did you post? Like your first
Sound is okay.
sound is okay. Hello. So
All right. So if the sound and the audio and the video is great, we can get started now. And what's our topic today? Actually, what do we have today?
so today we actually prepare you a very wonderful topic because we invited a very experienced YouTuber, and he himself is also a very experienced streaming users. And so let's welcome the one and only Greg. Okay, welcome, Greg. Okay, welcome, Greg.
Oh, hey,
Hello, Greg.
Greg.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you
Yeah,
guys.
how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's 10:30 p.m. here. I'm a little bit tired, but not too bad.
A little tired because
So now I'm
it's very
nervous that I'm live streaming, so that gets me awake.
Yes. So is this your first time to do the live stream?
Yes, I make a lot of videos, but never anything live before, so that makes me nervous. I'm getting a little sweaty over here.
Oh, nice. It's our honor to invite you to be our guest today.
Yeah.
So yes, because we have watched so many of your videos on YouTube, and this is actually our first time to talk as in the internet. Yes, some of the videos you make was really fun, and it's been a great help for the beginners. Yes. So, Greg, do you have anything to share with us for our users? Because do you have any topic you wanted to share with us?
Yeah. Well, I figured. Hey, Jamie, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to tell people a little bit about how I got started 3D printing, and I'd be interested to hear. People can throw out in the comments what got them started into 3D printing also, because I'm always interested to hear why people started 3D printing. So for me, I was a person who played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. And then as I got older, I stopped playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I was playing a war game called Warhammer, which is also with little figures. and then games like Mage Knight and also HeroScape. And after a while, I didn't have time to play those anymore because I got older, I was working too much, whatever. And then about 2 years ago, one of my sons came to me, and all my sons do is play video games. They came to me and said, "Dad, I want to try Dungeons and Dragons." And I said, "Really? It's not a video game, you know, it's a physical game." He said, "Yeah, I want to try it. Everyone says it's really good." So I started to look back into my Dungeons and Dragons, and I wanted to buy figures that my kids could use during the game. And when I was searching, looking for figures from companies like Reaper and Games Workshop and places like that, I also started to run across some 3D printing stuff, which I've never seen before, never really even heard of. And some of it looked pretty good. So I thought it might be a good way to do Dungeons and Dragons is to get a 3D printer, and then I can start making stuff at home that we can use in the game, because if people who know who play these games, it's very expensive to buy terrain. Like, here's a house I printed on my Ender 3 actually when I first started, and just buying a simple house like this would be $30 or $40 just for one. So I started looking at 3D printers, and if I could buy one for $300 and print 20 houses, it already paid for my printer, right? And then I get to keep using the printer and make stuff that only costs pennies each time. So that's how I got started in 3D printing. So I'm interested to hear how other people started. And I was surprised. I had actually seen 3D printing. There was a fair in New York City that I went to with my kids, I think in 2015 or 2016. And they had a big 3D, there was a maker fair. And they had a big 3D printing booth. So we went to it, and the stuff was garbage. It looked terrible. You know, the technology was just coming out, and things did not look good at all, so I wasn't interested at all. And then 2 years later, when I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons and I started looking, I saw the 3D printers were pretty good all of a sudden, right? So, and I saw and everyone out there, I'm not saying this because we're on Creality, this is true. You know, everyone was saying the best printer was Ender 3. Okay, so I did a lot of research, I watched a lot of videos, and Naomi Wu, Sexy Cyborg, I want to give a shout out to her because she's one of the people that I watch, and I know she's very friendly with Creality. So she was one of the people I watched her videos, and I learned about 3D printing. And so I decided after a lot of research to get the Ender 3, and I got it. And I think one of the very first things, first I printed out, there was a line, a test line. And I think the layer heights they had set was pretty high. So I printed it out and it looked like crap. I mean, it looked like a lion, but it had lines all over it. I took it and I showed my family, and they were all like, not very impressive. And I was actually sad. I was like, I see all these people on the internet with this really cool stuff. I got this crappy line. Then I read up a little more, watched a few more videos, and realized I needed to adjust things. And then my next print, I think, was this Basilisk, which came out fantastic. I didn't know what I was doing, right? I just had my Ender 3. I just put a file in that I got online. And when this came out, then I was amazed at 3D printing. All of a sudden, I knew this is the right thing. I'm never buying anything in the store again. I'm going to 3D print everything. So that's what really got me hooked. Right after that, I printed a Dinosaur, also on my Ender 3, and I'm sure it's not coming through, but this thing is super detailed. It's got tiny little teeth, and the teeth all printed out. I mean, it's tough to print these in resin, to be honest. I know resin printers do better, but it is actually tough to get all this stuff to print out perfectly in resin, and I got it on my Ender. So I was really thrilled, shocked, you know. Then I got a free file off Thingiverse, which was a giant purple worm I could use in my games. So I started printing stuff for Dungeons and Dragons, and it was just amazing. I loved it. You know, it just immediately addicted to 3D printing. I just wanted to print. Printer running 24 hours a day, all the time. My printer never quiet. As soon as it's over, stick another print in. That's how I really got started. And then I keep using my Ender. Like, here's a dice tower I made that I printed. That, you know, it's beautiful, right? This the Ender 3 did this, and yeah, you can see lines if you get up close, but when you get 2-3 feet away, it just looks beautiful. So 3D printing for me was really for game, you know, just for playing games, and it's perfect. Loved it.
Right. That's great. So I do see you got a lot of collections behind of you.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
you want to talk about those a bit?
In this cabinet over here, I have a bunch of Deadpool stuff and a bunch of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then the back cabinet, which you can see, it's, let me put my hand there, back more. Can't do it, I'm spazzing. That's all League of Legends. League of Legends is a computer game where 5 people play against 5 people and you fight. Great game. People don't know this about me. Action figures like that, I have a collection, 6,000 figures. I think I won.
That's very impressive. That's very
impressive. One of the biggest
impressive.
action figure collections in the world. Actually, I literally have 6,000 action figures.
Yes.
Statues, everything. Not all in this room, of course. But.
Yeah. Hi, Greg. We hate to interrupt, but our audience said, can you make your end like the voice a little bit louder? Yes. A little bit louder. Yes, because we received some comments they can't hear you clearly. Yeah.
So I just talk louder? Is that better? Well, Pygar, I am in a box.
Yeah, definitely. That's a joke. Yeah,
I'm in a printing box.
It sounds, yeah.
It's a long way, from China to US. It's like going.
I don't have a mic. I'm yelling to China.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to explain. Like the cable is going through underneath of the ocean, so probably the transmission isn't that good. But yeah, we already turned your volume up to like max at our end, and your voice sounds loud enough to us. But I probably
if I talk louder, does that work better? I feel like I'm talking.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah, it's better. So yeah, continue to share your wonderful story with us. Yeah, keep going.
And so from there, so I was like everyone else. I had no clue what I was doing. I was watching every video I could find on YouTube to try to learn. And then when resin printing came out, resin printing actually had already started when I got started, but it wasn't super popular yet. And I don't want to talk about your competitors, but Anycubic did a great job. They released the Photon, and that's what got everyone to buy a resin printer at home. And when I started resin printing, the truth is, even though I was doing a lot of research, there wasn't a lot of information out there, especially for people like me who wanted to focus on miniatures. There just wasn't a lot of tutorials on how to use Chitubox. There wasn't a lot of tutorials on how to get good resin prints. So I started just researching things and testing things on my own because I'm a perfectionist. I just want the best prints I could get. And so from doing all that research and doing a lot of testing, I somehow started becoming kind of an expert in getting good prints on miniatures. And I never wanted to start a YouTube channel, right? That was never my plan. What happened was, because my prints were coming out pretty good, a lot of people were messaging me and they were asking me for help. And I'm a nice guy, so I was helping everyone. And I started spending like 2 hours a day responding to messages. And it was taking up too much time. But I don't like to say no when people ask for help, so I kept helping people. Eventually, I realized if I don't make a YouTube channel, I'm going to spend all day helping people and I won't be able to even work. So I only started the channel to help people and they don't have to make the same mistakes that I had to make and learn all the things I had to learn.
So I do saw some comments saying that they got the help before and we did pretty good in the Chitubox. What is that? It's like a 3D modeling software.
That's where you stick the model when you slice it. Chitubox is the program like Cura. You know Cura for the Ender 3, you stick the model into Cura and then you slice it. In resin printing, you use Chitubox, and that's where you do it. So.
Yeah, that's kind of so. Yeah, I mean, personally, I have tried like probably 2 or 3 FDM printers. Personally, I haven't tried any resin printers.
Oh, you haven't done resin? Well, resin. If you're being honest about it, the resin prints are, especially for small stuff, just way better than you can do on FDM. It's it's just a lot better. So. And there really wasn't that information, much information out there on it when I started. So that's why I ended up putting the information out there to try and help people.
Yes.
Even for FDM printing, a lot of like when I went through the settings for Cura for FDM printing, I think most people who print, I'm guessing, don't really know what most of the settings actually do. They rely on either someone like me or another person who did a really good job was Tom Tullis from Fat Dragon Games has a printing profile for Cure that people use on their Ender. I took that and did a lot of research and modified it and put one out that a lot of people also started using. But mine, honestly, was a modification of Tom's. He was the first one that I know of that put out a really good printing profile. But even so, people use our profiles without knowing, there's 100 settings in there, and it's good. People don't need to know what each one does. But I actually researched every single one to see exactly what they do, so I could try to get the best prints possible. So when I go to print a house or a tree or whatever I was printing, I could make my Ender perform, to its maximum capability. That was my goal. Right? There's a limitation. The Ender 3 is great, but it can only do so good. So you want to get it. You want to get it to the best it can be.
Right. So if I'm getting right, for say, if you're making something for like the table at games, like a Dungeons and Dragons, so you use like resin printer to print out those like miniatures, like characters, and use the FDM printer to print like larger objects, like the house, the building, the platform, something like that.
Yeah. So I still use my Ender to make the terrain, and then resin printer does a lot better for miniatures like this.
The terrains. That's the one I'm trying to. Was looking for. Yes.
Yeah.
The resin printers for small stuff.
But for me, I don't know for other people out there, but I mean, I know it's true for a lot of people. 3D printing for people who play like Dungeons and Dragons or other games like that, it's pretty amazing because now you can print an entire dungeon and you can print every character, you can print every monster. So now you can play the whole thing 3D and it looks really cool. I mean, at least I think so. Some people still like to play just in their head, but I think most people were visual, right? Human beings are visual creatures. So it's really good to have a 3D physical representation of everything you're playing with. It just, to me, it makes it a lot better.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I also wonder, except for print it out, like do you do some other jobs, like before you print it, do you like design the 3D models yourself?
Well, that's actually an interesting question. I am now designing my first Kickstarter project actually with a bunch of different artists. But normally, no. Normally, I just print so I can play. And now that I've been doing this long enough and met enough people, there were some things that I wanted to see that I didn't see yet from other people. So I have now decided to make, my own Kickstarter. Hopefully, other people like it too. But it's just full of stuff that I want to see, and that I want to make. So I'm going to give that a shot and see how it goes.
Yes. So many comments say that you are being a great help to beginners because after watching your videos and they started to get more addictive to this 3D printers. So yes. As Jamie said, it has been a great help, huge help for us.
Thank you, Logan. Well, look, I truly, like I said, I didn't want to make a YouTube channel, and then when I did, it was to help people. So anytime, and I get messages every day, people send me messages saying, thank you, you helped me. And I have to admit, every time I get a message from someone, makes me very happy because that's the only reason I made my channel. I don't make a lot of money off it or anything like that. It's not, I mean, I'm a lawyer. I have a regular job. I don't, I didn't need to do this. I'm doing this to help people. So literally every time someone says thank you, it makes my day because, I'm just trying to spare people the pain that I went through when I had to learn everything and no one was there to teach me, so.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking of the whole like 3D printing industry and the 3D printer itself. I mean,
community.
It's about the community. It's about the connection between people. Some people like you, they're willing to help the beginners. That's awesome. And we also got some other users. They upload their own like STL 3D models files up to like Thingiverse, whatever. Some people they can download. That's another kind of shit.
Yeah, no, I actually, what I found interesting about 3D printing, and one of the reasons that I became more addicted and I love it so much, is that in general, I found the people in the community are very nice and very helpful. When I didn't know what I was doing, lots of people helped me. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to help people afterwards, because people were so nice to me I figure it's my turn. You know, if I have knowledge, now I need to share it with people. Because look, it's a pain to make videos. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work. So I do it because when I didn't know what I was doing, a few people reached out to me when I posted, and they helped me, and I thought that was great. And the other people I've met, for the most part, in the 3D printing world, have all been very nice and very helpful. Like, I'm gonna go back to Naomi again, because Naomi was a person with like a
we know her.
she got like 1 million followers. Okay, she's super famous, right? In our little world, she's extremely famous. But when I started my channel, and I had 10 subscribers, Naomi reached out to me, and emailed me, and gave me advice. So here's a super famous lady who doesn't know me at all, has no reason to be nice to me, and yet she emailed me and gave me advice on how to run the channel. And I just thought that was like really, really nice of her. You know, she didn't have, of course, she didn't have to do it. So I always have a soft spot for Naomi in my heart, because she was very nice to me. And also Daniel Herrero, who you should have him on the show, by the way, if he'll come. He runs he's the 3D printing DM. He started the Facebook group, the Tabletop 3D Printing Guild. So any of you guys out there who know Danny Herrero or are in his group, you know, like, what a nice guy. And you watch his videos. I think he's got like 100,000 subs. He's just like a super nice guy. He also helped get me into 3D printing, because when I was first watching all the videos, I was watching people like Maker's Muse, Angus, or Simon from RC Life, or even Chuck Hellebuck, you know, from Chef. And these guys are all engineers. They could all take the machine apart and rebuild it, right? For me, that was a little intimidating. I'm not an engineer. So I watched these guys, and I liked their channels, I liked the information, but I didn't want to take my machine apart. I wanted to work, right? So it was very nerve-wracking. Everyone I saw doing this was an engineer. And then along came this guy, Danny, and Danny was a regular guy. He's a Dungeons and Dragons player. He's not an engineer, he's not technical at all. And here he was 3D printing for Dungeons and Dragons. So seeing someone like him, and I love you, Danny, so I don't mean this in a bad way if you're watching, he didn't know what he was doing, but he could print, you know, he was getting good prints, and he was having fun, and he was using it for Dungeons and Dragons. So seeing him helped inspire me to buy a machine also, because I saw it's not just for engineers. Regular people, you know, without technical experience, you can use this. But the one thing you learn when you 3D print, especially FDM, you do have to learn to be a tinker, right? We all have to fix our own machines. I think of 3D printing, even resin printing, is the same thing. If you have, when you turn on the light switch, the lights go on. You don't need to know how it works, right? You don't need to know. But when you have a 3D printer, you actually need to know how it works, because when it doesn't work, you have to fix it. You can't, right? It's not like you can't call an electrician to come over and fix your light for you.
Yeah, you have to do it yourself.
You're an electrician. You have to fix everything. So that's the reason I started making videos. I want to help people understand also their machines, because we have to fix our own machines. So it's important that people, it's a different kind of hobby than most hobbies.
Exactly. I mean, that's part of the reason we have we really appreciate that, because like as you know, like Creality 3D, we have our own user group on our YouTube channel. Like, so basically that's part of the reason, because this I heard a lot saying that like if you got like a printer from like a Chinese brand from China, and you probably don't get a lot of help, and you pretty much on your own. So that's something we really want to change. We do create like a group. We invite a lot of users in, and we create those kind of like environments so they can help each other. And I mean, we support like customer service for sure, but we really want to create those kind of environments so people can really help each other, feeling that you're not alone, because it's really
community. Because like I said, since everyone has to understand and be able to fix their own machines, like how many new people, we all have the same problem. New people come in, their nozzle's clogged, or the Bowden tube is not quite down far enough, or they didn't level good enough and they have warping, or they have an extra open window and it's causing warping. Like, you see all kinds of problems, and it's okay. Every day people come in with the same questions that people asked, 1 month ago, right? So yeah, the support in the community. The good thing is we were all noobs at one point, so we all know what it's like to have problems and you have no idea what the hell is going on. That's happened to all of us, right? So I think everyone's pretty good about helping the people who come behind us, and they don't know what's going on either. So we all see the same questions all the time, but those are the questions we ask also. So it's not that bad. So you don't see that many people being like that. It's a stupid question. You should know that, or go look online, because like I said, we all did the same thing. When my printer stopped working the first time, I immediately posted in Facebook and said help. That's what you do.
Yes. Yeah, the community is all about helping others. That's why our YouTube channel and YouTube channel, that's the principles to, the first beginning idea is to help others. Yes. So we have some questions from our so our lovely audience and our users, you have some questions for Greg. You have something or you don't know, you want to seek for help for Greg, so just leave in the comment section. So yes.
Yeah. I mean, any
ask questions. It could be anything. You can ask me what my favorite movie is. I don't care. Just
yes.
Good. Let's talk.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you want ask like general questions. What do you think about the 3D printing whole industry? Or something specific about like printing tricks? What's your tips? Like anything. Yeah. So while we're waiting for those questions, I personally have one. So there's so many stages when you print it out, and so at the beginning you started with you either pick or you create a 3D model, right, and you slice it. And you print it out, you choose the right filament. So after that, you probably need to do sanding, you need to do like a painting. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think? Which stage is like the most hard one, is the most important one?
Well, I think for most people, the filament I use, I personally use the eSun PLA Plus. That's what's giving me the best results on my ender. And it's funny, when I first started, that's one of those questions, like, I think the first or second day I had it, I went on to the Facebook group and said, what's the best filament? And the biggest response I got was eSun PLA Plus. So they let me buy some and try it. And it was amazing. I have to say, it was so good that I never really tried other filaments, because it just came out perfect every time. The results were so good, I didn't even want to mess with it. And to this day, I still just buy eSun PLA Plus. Like a lot of companies have asked me to test filament and do whatever. I actually don't even want to bother. The stuff is so good for me personally that that's all I use.
We have another questions. Yes, it's on this one. Yeah.
Actually, I don't use Wi-Fi at all. I'm the USB stick guy. I'm going to be honest. I've always been too lazy to even set it up. I'm not going to lie. I'm just lazy as hell. It's easy for me to just like pull out that USB, I stick the USB in, I'm done. So I have to actually plead total ignorance on using Wi-Fi on all my printers, even though I think all of them are probably capable. I don't use it.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm probably dumb, but that's okay.
And this Jamie is asked.
Jamie, most people reach out to me on Facebook because that's somehow where I just found the 3D printing community first. It wasn't Reddit or Instagram or anything like that. So I just stuck with Facebook. So if I'm in a few Facebook 3D printing groups, some of the biggest ones. I think the biggest one is probably the Tabletop 3D Printing Guild. So you can usually find me. People tag me there all the time when they have questions.
Yes, and we have more questions going on.
Luke, I answered that.
Yeah. This one has already answered that.
You go backwards. You didn't ask.
PLA. Yeah.
No, I don't use Octa.
Yeah, this user said it.
Oh man, now you're going above my pay grade in terms of that question. That you need one of the engineer guys or one of the software guys.
Yes.
Changing the test and saving the configuration. I'm not sure actually.
Yeah, so Luke just said, how can we reach you on Facebook?
Yeah, like I said, tag me. My real name is Greg Kourakos, Kourakos. These guys can probably put it up somewhere, and you can just tag me in a Facebook post. People accuse me of lurking because when they tag me, I usually show up pretty quickly. So if you want to get to me, one of the Facebook groups is a good way to do it.
Yeah, and Joe just said, we have been, yeah, this question. Pretty lucky.
5 years, 3.
5 years, 3 printers. That's good. I'm on. I now have, I think, a total of 9 printers. It's getting pretty bad. I'm being buried under plastic.
Yeah. And Joe also said, yes. You need to keep the SD card in for the Ender 3v2. It's currently muted.
Well, I'm only using my card, so that's okay.
Yes, probably. I think that's probably the previous question.
Coming out. I actually, and just so people know, I actually backed their Kickstarter. I bought in. They didn't send me a free printer or anything. You guys should have, but you didn't. But it's okay. So I backed the CR6. So as soon as I'm waiting for mine to come, as soon as it gets here, I'll be making a review video. Sorry, I'm sure everyone else is making one also, but you guys know I'll put up an honest review as soon as I get my Ender CR6 in.
Yes, and someone also wants to know, do you have any recommendations on 3D modeling software?
Well, since I don't sculpt, most of the sculptors that I work with, because I do work with a bunch of sculptors, they all seem to use ZBrush. Although I do know 1 or 2 use Cinema 4D, I think it's called. But by far, ZBrush seems to be the most common choice for the sculptors.
Yes.
I think I just coincidentally saw an ad a day or 2 ago that Pixelogic is just putting out a new version of ZBrush. So if any sculptors are watching, there is a new version of ZBrush coming very soon, I think.
Yeah, and this question, Luke just asked, what's your most complex 3D print and how long did it take to print?
Well, that's a good question. Resin or FDM? Some of my FDM prints, and Jason, going back to the question you just asked about what's the most difficult stage, I think once you get you're talking FDM, once you get your printer, what we call dialed in, working perfectly, I actually print my terrain like, when I print here, I just pulled off the top of the dice out. When I print something like this, I'm printing at 0.04 millimeter layer height, which is a lot smaller than most people do because it takes forever. Some of my prints, like if I print a house like this, at the way I print it with the small layer height, something like that can take me like 3-4 days. So I don't know if that counts as a complex print. On FDM, I tend to think complex by length. Like the longer the print, the more complex. On resin, I judge complexity by how many supports I have to do at crazy angles, to make it work.
And yes, and Luke also asked, what's your favorite material, FDM or resin?
Well, resin now resin, except some things you can't do in resin that you can do in FDM. So some of the bigger pieces, I can't fit them on a resin printer yet. As we all know, some of the big resin printers are coming soon. I'm sure Creality is working on one, maybe in secret, but I'm sure they're working on a large resin printer as well. I don't know if they can talk about it, but we know this. The Elegoo Saturn is coming out in a month or 2, which is big but not huge. You got bigger stuff like the Piopoli Phenom, which is way bigger. Steven, 0.04. Listen, if you want good-looking terrain, I know some people say, I don't care about the lines. I'll fill it. I'll sand it. You should have the patience because at 0.04, the stuff looks gorgeous, man. You get a little distance away at 0.04 millimeters, it's really tough to tell that it's FDM. And that's why I do the crazy layer height on my FDM. I've had prints, a bigger house than this. Like I had a roof that took up the whole plate, and I think it was just that one print was 5 days at 0.04 millimeters. So you have to make sure your machine's working really well before you do it the way I do it. Yeah, I'm patient though, because I look at it this way. If I'm printing something huge like that, I'm only doing it one time. And hopefully I'm going to use it till I die. So I want it to be as good as it can be. That's what makes me patient.
Yeah, that makes sense to
I'm
me.
more uptight than I am in a rush. Depends what type of 3D printing, if you mean FDM or resin. I still say for FDM, people have to be prepared that they're going to have to tinker with their machines. For resin printing, I think it's more along the line that you just have to take proper safety precautions. You know, we're still not sure how bad resin printing is for you. So, you know, you have to make sure you wear your gloves. When appropriate, you wear your goggles, your, you know, possibly a mask, depending what you're using. So probably safety. I'd say actually safety.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, I think the smell of the resin itself, the liquid, it's not that bad. I mean,
Well, it depends. Some of them are pretty stinky.
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Someone think it's terrible.
I have only tried ours, like the smell is bad, so
Send me some. I'll test it for you.
and
And yes, and more question is, someone asked which material is more resistant? The
More
FDM
resistant
or the
to
resin?
what? I mean, the FDM prints are stronger than the resin prints. Unless you're going to use, if you use an engineering resin, you can get something that's pretty strong. But both of them, when they're thin, are easy to snap. There's no, you know, there's no way around that now. I guess there are some machines that can FDM print like metal. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about like an Ender 3 type versus, you know, standard resin printer. Like I said, there are some resins that are pretty strong. I've even tested some resins where, if you guys watch my videos, when you go to break it, you can actually bend it in half without breaking it. And I kind of work it back and forth before it breaks. So there are some that are fairly flexible and durable. But I'm not sure I'd call any of them really strong yet. But like I said, there are some engineering resins, some expensive ones that you can use as functional parts though.
Yes, and someone asked, are there any tips to printing multi-part models? Can model software?
Yeah, I mean, if a model needs to be split, usually the artist, if there's a model that should be split, usually the artist, you know, will split it, and then you print it in many pieces. For instance, just as an example, even though I printed this on my Ender, this model itself was one piece ends here, one piece ends here, and then one piece is here. So it's three. This is three different pieces already, you know. And when you get to bigger stuff, like the dice tower, since I didn't glue it, you can see it's modular, right? So if the artist is doing their job, they'll split the models for printing for you.
yes.
And most artists these days, again, I'm talking only about miniatures and gaming because that's what I do. Most of the artists these days, when they're sculpting something, they try to sculpt it so it'll fit on the standard size resin printer bed. And if it gets bigger than that, they start splitting it up.
Right. I mean, my personal experience about the you print like the split objects, like the prints. Basically, I found my 3D models on the Thingiverse. The uploader actually provided like two versions of the prints. One is like all in one piece, and another one is all come with all different parts. You glue it up together. What I feel the benefit of you print it separately is, first of all, if your model is like really tall, or you know, it does need supports, but I mean, if you split it to so many pieces, you can easily lay it down. So itself, it does not that much support, so it's actually increased the possibility to print it out successfully.
Yeah, I mean, usually things are split up, they're easier to print. That's why you do it. So.
Exactly, and also another benefit is if you need to color it, if you need to paint it, it's so much easier if it all comes with different pieces. You don't need to put the cover paper on it. I mean, I don't know how you print, but I mean, myself, I use
it's the same idea if you do, you know, a figure and then the weapon comes separately. Yeah. You can paint it and then assemble it. It just makes it easier to deal with.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, there are times, James, I don't use Mesh Mixer because I don't do anything very advanced in terms of that stuff, but I use 3D Builder, which comes with Windows, and sometimes I take the model, and if they come with a separate weapon, I join them together in 3D Builder and print it all as one piece if it looks easy.
Right.
Yes, and then we have more questions.
Oh, nylon. See, I've never printed in nylon. I'm sure it's
Me
pretty
neither. No.
I've never tried that.
What machine did you do that on? Print nylon?
I'm curious too.
Really? Well, Luke, what do you print that you use the FDM more than resin? Because most people who have both, tend to use their resin printer more than their FDM printer, it seems like. I'm curious.
Yeah, me.
Honestly, nowadays, anything that fits on my resin printer goes on my resin printer. And the only stuff that goes onto my ender, honestly, these days, is stuff that doesn't fit on, on my resin.
Yes, and someone just said it's yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's the what do you think? So there we go. We got a free.
Linux models, I'm not sure because I don't really get into the modeling end of it. And like I said, almost exclusively the artists that I deal with, and I deal with some of the top artists, and we're talking about miniatures. They're all using basically ZBrush, and ZBrush is not free. All right, I think they actually came out, I think, with a free version, but I think, and I haven't used that, but from what I understand, it's missing most of the advanced things you need. So I think they do that so you can try it, but if you really want to do anything serious, you need to buy ZBrush.
Yeah, and then Jamie just asked, she's about to ask if you ever tried printing with either line.
No, I haven't.
Yes. Okay, and yes, this question. Thanks, guys.
Okay, we still have like probably 20 more minutes waiting for more questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so someone Steve just shared. Yeah, just shared. Free.
It's a small print bed, Luke, but like I said, they're getting bigger. I think within the next year, you're going to see some really, really big resin printers coming out. And right now, if you have the money, Chiapoli sells one for $3,000, and it's got a huge print bed. But most of us are not going to spend that kind of money to print, for games. Right?
Fusion 360.
Yeah, see, I don't use that. I have basically nothing to do with the creation of models, except sometimes artists ask my advice on what I would like to see, but I don't get involved in the actual making of a model.
Okay, so actually, I personally want to ask some, probably painting tips. When you either paint on the regular plastic, like PLA materials, FDM printer, or you print on the print comes out of the resin printer. Do you use the same technique? Do you use the same paint?
Yeah, basically, I mean, again, if you look at something like this, which I don't know if the color comes through, but I actually think this is painted to a decent standard. Since I'm doing mostly terrain on my FDM, I don't even use, since I'm doing 0.4 millimeter layer height, I don't actually need to sand my prints afterwards or spray with filler primer because my lines are very thin. They don't look bad at all. So normally I just spray it with a normal primer, and I use a rattle can because out of the can it comes out a little thicker, and with FDM that's okay because you do want to fill in a little bit the lines. So I just give it a nice heavy spray with primer, and then I just start painting it like I would any other model. With resin, where it doesn't have the lines, I try to use a better, thinner primer so I don't lose any detail. Because again, I'm going to do, my minis like this are resin, and they have a lot of detail, very fine detail. You don't want to cover it up with too much primer. Where something like this, you can put a lot of primer on it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Amanda just said, do you have any suggestions for a better profile for lasers like Creality slicers?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look up Fat Dragon Games, they have a 3D printing profile. If you look up my videos, I have a Cura profile, which I think is really good. It's basically works like the Fat Dragon Games one, but it prints twice as fast. I was able to speed up some of the parameters without affecting print quality. So yeah, there's a couple. If you search the internet, you'll find the most used profiles for Cura, and I do think Cura is the best slicer for FDM.
Yes, and he just said, send great primer. So
Yeah,
primer
I don't
is
want to be bothered sanding. Like if you I don't know how good the camera's gonna pick it up, but
that's beautiful.
you can't really see the lines, and I don't have to sand or do anything. And that's why I'd rather print at a lower layer height and wait a longer time, and then just get a better print out of it that I don't have to do as much post processing on. Because when I used to print at a higher layer height, like everyone used to tell me when I first started, hey, for terrain you can print it at 0.2. 0.2 looks terrible to me. So I did that for a while, and then I realized, wait a second, I don't have to do what everyone else says. I'm going to research, and I'm going to come up with my own profile. So that's why I started printing at 0.08, and the results were so much better that I didn't go back. You know, and I decided to wait, and I don't care if my prints take 3-4 days, they look better. So to me, that's worth it. I know to other people, they don't want to wait, they don't have the patience. That's fine too. Because if you like the way it looks at 0.2, that's okay. For me, 0.2 looks 0.02, it's terrible. I can't do it.
Yeah. So yes, Jamie just said, she used plastic dip.
Yeah, I've never used it, but people use a lot of different things to fill in the lines. I'd rather just, for me, I don't like to post process that much. I'd rather print it as good as I can and then kind of done. Then I'm just going to paint it. And when I do that, like when I like I said, it's hard to show here. When I look at the stuff I've done on my FDM printer and then I paint it up, you can't really tell it's FDM. I mean, if you get an inch or two away, you can tell. But from tabletop distance, when I'm playing a game, I can put these pieces next to my resin pieces, and it is actually hard to tell the difference. It's only when I take pictures that you really start to see, and then on FDM, you see a ton of lines. It looks terrible if you take a high-res photo. But on your tabletop from 2 or 3 feet away, the FDM, like, you can't tell this Dinosaur is FDM, and if you get 2 or 3 feet away, I challenge you to tell me whether it's FDM or resin. It's really hard to tell. One of my earliest prints also off my Ender was this slant, this frog made basically. Detail came out. When I first saw this, this is my second or third print off my Ender. I actually couldn't believe the detail it could pick up. I was actually shocked, especially after I had that test print of the crappy line with all the lines. It looked, but my line looked like a topographical map. The layers were you could see them so visible.
Exactly. So
Right.
so Steve just asked, Cura is the best general purpose.
Well, Prusa
Versus
Slicer, you're talking for FDM, of course, for Prusa Slicer. Because everyone keeps telling me how good Prusa Slicer is, so I keep trying it for resin printing. I haven't really used it for FDM, but I keep trying it for resin printing, and for me, it just doesn't do it. I think it's close on a lot of things, but the way I do my supports in resin, it doesn't even help me to start with Prusa. I have to be honest. It's not a knock against Prusa. It's just, it doesn't help me. I understand it helps a lot of people, and a lot of people swear by it, and that's great. I'm not knocking any of that. But for me personally, once I use Prusa Slicer, it's just as much work for me to correct it as it is for me to just do it from scratch in Chitterbox. So that's why I do that. I wish it was easier. Believe me, I don't like to spend all my time doing supports. I wish it was like way faster and easier than it is for me. But that's what I do.
So yeah, someone just said the monster you built is absolutely beautiful. Those monsters.
That's amazing. Agree.
Yeah, I'm very impressed.
There we
So
go.
is this the most satisfying craft you have ever made?
Yeah, I have I have like 1,000 prints, probably more. I have so much cool stuff I made that I couldn't pull it all up here. I have it down in my
Too many to count.
My basement's my game room, so I have way too much stuff to show. So but I don't even know what my favorite thing is. There's so many great things I've printed, and to me, that's one of the things that's best about this hobby. For me, because I love gaming and I love miniatures, every day I'm printing something new, and every day I'm happy. It's still like Christmas. every time I pull something off my FDM printer, my Ender, or I get one of my resin prints, I'm all excited and happy. It's great. I get to print so much cool stuff.
Yeah. Still think most of the time Creality is better though.
Honestly, I never tried Prusa for FDM because Cura works so well for me right from the beginning. And looking at the results I've gotten using it, I can't imagine getting better results. I mean, maybe it's possible. Maybe I should even experiment, but I'm one of those people, if something's working like great, and I never saw tons of people recommending Prusa Slicer for FDM either. Otherwise, I might have tried it. So I'm kind of like, I'm like a sheep. I follow the crowd. Everyone said Cura was the best, so that's why I started using. I got great results. I just never switched. In resin printing, I actually tried Prusa Slicer because I would like to find an easier way to do the supports for models. And when people first started saying, hey, Prusa auto supports are great, I actually was excited by that. But man, if auto supports could take the place of me, that would actually be good. I spend hours a day doing supports for models. I don't want to actually. I mean, it's kind of fun sometimes. It's almost like figuring out a puzzle, but I spend more time doing it than I would like to. So, when the day someone makes a perfect auto support system, I'll be the first person to say, yay. Like, I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, I can agree with you. So Marcellus just asked, any good enter apps for printing?
No clue. I gotta be honest. I never seen anyone really mention apps for printing either. I mean, the most you could do, I guess, is for Octopi, right? You could control it maybe from your phone. I don't know
remotely.
if it's an app for printing or not. To me, something good for printing means it makes your printing better. So anything that makes prints better, I'm all for. Other than that, I don't really pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So our Ray just asked, any thoughts on the Katana S400s and what a mid-size race printer?
I have not tested that at all. I have to be honest. I have not tested it. I don't know what size that is. That the same size, about the same size as the Saturn that's coming out next month? You know? Does anyone know?
Yeah,
You're not sure either.
I'm not sure either. I'm a little bit far behind.
Saturn's coming out next month, and I consider that to be a mid-sized resin printer. It's definitely not big because I have a prototype behind me on the floor over there, and the print volume is like double, a normal small printer, but it's not groundbreaking in the sense I still have a lot of terrain pieces, like some of the bigger houses, and I can't do them on that Saturn. It's still not big enough. So, until those screens get a little bigger, the FDM printers are still going to have a lot of use. Plus, I know for people who are not playing games, I know the FDM printers have a lot of use that resin printers can't do anyway, in terms of printing different materials and stuff. Yeah, 8.9, that's the same as the Saturn, so that's mid-size.
Yeah.
So Kellan versus the Saturn, I don't know. I have the Saturn I tested the Saturn, but I had a prototype. In the prototype, it didn't have the mono screen. It had a color LCD screen, so,
Yes. So Steve also.
Yeah, and Joe, I mean, it's so bad for me. When my printers aren't running, I get nervous. Like, I want something printing all the time.
Yes, printing every day.
Sonic Mini, well, I don't want to be on Creality's show talking about competitors too much, but I think you can see a Sonic Mini in the background right here. Okay, and I have two of them. You can't see the other one; it's just out of sight. I think the Sonic Mini is great. It's a good machine, and it's got the mono screen. Technically, it has a lower resolution than all the 2K screens, but I don't want to get into science too much. The mono screen transmits 6 times as much light as the color LCD screens. So, with a parallel light array underneath it, even though it's lower resolution, the Sonic Mini prints look as good as anything off a regular 2K screen because there's better light transmission. So I think what you're going to see in the future, and it's happening now, basically everything's going to go to mono screen.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm sure these guys, they can't talk about, but I'm sure Creality's working on their mono screen printer right now. They're probably boxing one up and getting ready to send it to me for testing. Remember to tell your boss to send you one for testing. So I think everything you're going to see from now on is going to be mono screen. Within the next 6 months, you won't see any more regular LCD.
Yeah, so let's just ask,
Have you changed out as any printers?
No, you know what? Since that's a good
spend a
question.
lot of small quotes.
I finally noticed a fan being loud or louder. I got the EPAX X1K, and it's a great printer. It's a 2K mono screen printer, but the fan is noticeably loud on it. It's the first time I ever even noticed, and I think because they have a very big light array in there and the mono screen, they want to keep it cool. But in general, to answer your question in general, the noises of the fans don't bother me. I'm in a room with like 7 or 8 printers, so there's going to be some noise. To me, it's like background noise. I don't really even hear it. If I go out of the room and shut the door, nobody can hear it. So the noise to me it's not a big deal.
I mean, I do heard some feedback from the users, like the better fans you put on, like the.
No, actually, I've never changed the fan out because the noise has never bothered me.
Right. But I mean, just for those like users who does struggling about those noises, I mean, yes, go change the fan.
There are a lot. If you go to YouTube, you won't find it on my channel. But if you just go to YouTube and look for fan mods, for your whether it's an Ender or a resin printer, you'll find a ton of videos instructing you exactly how to change out to a quieter fan, and probably some reviews of what the best fans are. But I learned most of what I learned on YouTube. Now I'm trying to teach people what I know on YouTube. I think it's a great place to go to learn stuff.
Yeah, so Henry just asked, where can you get a good cure profile?
Go to Fat Dragon Games, which they have their profile for download. You can go to Tabletop 3D Printing Guild. I think they have a link there to Fat Dragon Games profile and to the profile that I made. My profile goes all the way back to Cura 4.0 though. I never updated for new Cura. I have to be honest. I have to go and update my profile. I haven't done it yet.
Yes. Jimmy just said
definitely look up Fat Dragon Games because they have Cura profile for 0.04 millimeter nozzle and 0.02 millimeter nozzle. So you can find that pretty easy online.
Yeah, Luke also said upgrading my industry board into newest thing made a world of difference.
Well, in terms of noise, you're talking about, I assume, because you have the one that makes the stepper motors work more quietly, smoother. Supposedly, now again, I don't have my CR6 yet, the new one from Creality. I'm waiting for it. Hopefully, I'll get it soon. I know they sent out their 3rd batch, but I wasn't in the first 3 batches, so hopefully I'm in the 4th batch. But everyone I've seen, my fellow YouTubers who have been reviewing it, have all said it's very quiet, very quiet. So I'm anxious to get it and see, how quiet it is. Again, for me, it won't matter that much, but I know it matters for a lot of other people. So hopefully it's as quiet as everyone says. I'll give you guys the true rundown on the sound.
Yes. Due to the time limit, we're gonna ask the one last question is, so yes, what's the best nozzle size?
Well, that's a loaded question because the best nozzle size depends on what you want to print. People who use their Ender to print miniatures, for instance, a lot of them swear by going to the 0.2 nozzle instead of the standard 0.4. Now I stuck with 0.4, and at 0.4 I got results on small things, minis that I thought were pretty incredible. And if 0.2 is better, I've never even bothered to test it again because my results were so good. I figured I'm not going to change. But if you go to look up people who use the 0.2 nozzle, you can find plenty of pictures for people who use the 0.2 nozzle, and you can decide is it better or not. If you're impatient though, the 0.2 nozzle takes twice as long to print, right? It's easy math. It's half the size, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna be a lot slower on your prints, but hopefully a lot more accurate. They are alive, and as the last thing I'll say, Todd, before we get cut off, one day the machines are going to kill us, like they show in the Terminator. As the AI gets good, right? As soon as the machine wakes up, the first thing it's going to say is, "Wait, humans suck," and they're going to kill us all. So, Terminator stuff ready. I'm afraid it might be coming. Isaac Asimov thought it was coming too. If you don't know Isaac Asimov, if you're young and you don't know Isaac Asimov, go read all his books on robots. And remember, he wrote them before they even had calculators. Smart guy.
All right, so since time's up, I think we'll do that. We had a great
We have
time.
more questions coming up,
today.
but yes. Yeah. But yeah, but due to
Hey,
the time
thank you.
limits,
Hey, I want to thank everyone who showed up. I don't know how many people it is. How many people showed up, by the way?
We have probably about like 50 audience.
Okay, good. I want to thank everyone for coming and putting up with me for an hour. I hope it wasn't too boring. I was trying, usually I'm a little goofier, but I was scared I might say something outrageous. So on my YouTube channel, I get a little more crazy, I think.
Totally. So if you haven't subscribed Greg's channel, totally go for it. We already attached the link. Actually, just next below, next to the this live stream link. So just go check it out. His YouTube channel name 3D Printing Pro. I personally have watched probably 5 to 10 videos of yours.
me too.
It was
It's
amazing. Totally like it. So
Yeah.
for you guys haven't checked it
Yeah,
out,
if you guys want to learn about resin printing, head to my channel. You'll hopefully you'll learn how to be really good at it.
totally learn stuff for sure. All right, and we are all looking forward to see more great videos coming out from you in the future.
Very
Yeah,
soon.
definitely,
Very
yes.
soon.
So if
Thank
you
you,
didn't
thank you
follow,
everyone for coming, really, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you guys.
yeah.
And
All right,
thank you guys for having me on.
You're so welcome. All
You're
right,
so popular
thanks to
and
all
welcome.
audience. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Let's
Take
just go
care.
follow Greg's
Take care,
channel. Yeah, take care, and
bye-bye.
we'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. It
See you guys.
has been a great time.
Okay.